Okay, it's funny. I said the first episode doesn't really have much, but then the second episode doesn't have much in terms of the overarching story of the season, but it does have a lot within its episode itself. So, how's everyone doing today, guys? My name is T Codes, and if you're watching this immediately after the previous review, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm doing these episodes back to back because that's how they were released. And so this is episode 2 of season 2, or episode 18 of the series, Ruins of War. And basically just picked up where the last episode left off. You had this heist go wrong on Sereno. You know, they break into Dooku's palace to kind of steal his loot after the fact that he's dead and the Clone Wars is over. So things go wrong. You have the Echo, Tech, and Omega separated from Hunter and Wrecker, and so they have to kind of figure out a plan to just get the heck out of there. Like, yeah, they want to get some... Sure, Omega wants to get some loot because, as we talked about in the first episode, you know, she kind of feels like she's a burden and she wants to at least make up for it. But now they're here on this planet and they have to... Man, it's ridiculous. But, yeah, so... Unfortunately for Echo, Tech, and Omega, their landing doesn't go as smoothly as they think on the crate, in their crate. Though the thrusters work for the most part, they land on the side. They don't land fully flat on the ground. They land on the side of a cliff, and Tech gets injured, and he has to be carried, or not like fully carried, but he's just like, you know, the class, you know, arm over the shoulder carried. And unfortunately, that kind of sucks because it's like, oh, we can't really get moving. Meanwhile, Hunter and Wrecker just trying to find the group and get back to the ship. But unfortunately for them, Wilco, the clone captain, wants his squad to go recover all the crates. And of course, that makes it a little bit more difficult because some of the crates were scattered throughout the area that Hunter and Wrecker need to get through to get back to the Marauder. And so... you know, all that is not exactly the best. But, for Hunter and Wrecker, it's mainly just, yeah, exactly that. They're just like, they gotta get through this, and they're like, okay, how do we get through it? You got any explosives, Wrecker? And he's like, I got these smoke bombs. And then it's like, hey, is that an old separatist war tank? Yeah, that's basically what this side of the episode is. Just Hunter and Wrecker get through this because they take this separatist tank, start blowing stuff up. Wrecker kind of gets his RPG, and it's just so freaking cool. And again, the sound design is really cool, but yeah, that's pretty much what their side of the story is. The main focus is Omega, Tech, and Echo when they hide out in this man's house. His name is Romar Ardell, and he's a native of Sereno, and, you know, at first they're like, is he working, you know, are they working, you know, like, are you working for the Empire? And then Tech, Echo, and Omega are like, are you working for the Empire? And then Romar is like, are you working for the Empire? And it's like, fair point. But, no, neither of them working for the Empire, and I'll give Omega this, I realized how, I guess it kind of makes sense that she doesn't want to trust people, especially with how in season 1 she trusts a few people that ended up not being good. You know, you had Fennec Shand that didn't go well, and so I guess her just kind of being more defensive when it comes to meeting new people makes sense. And so, especially with the fact that Tech is hurt, so she's just kind of feeling more and more like, I gotta step up. But Romar just takes him back to his home at first, even though, despite the fact that he's like, oh, there's nothing out here for miles. And then Tech's like, so then what's with the house 200 meters away from us? And they're like, But, yeah, so Romar kind of talks about how he lived on Sereno, and of course Tech is like, so you were a separatist? And then it's just like, just because I lived on this planet doesn't mean I automatically fall into this category. It's like, yeah, that's another unfortunate fact when it comes to stuff like this. You know, when you got war, you're like thinking, oh, everyone who lives in that part of in that country where they have this where they're in war with, that means they're bad. It's kind of like here like with this situation of Bad Batch. You know, it's like, just because he lived on the planet where Count Dooku lived and had his base of operations and had all of that. It's like, I mean, imagine if everyone who, Naboo, for example, because that's where Palpatine's from. Palpatine's from Naboo. Imagine if everyone who people of Naboo were resented because of the fact that they're on the same planet that the Emperor was from. It's like, there is that kind of side to it, and Tech even admits that. He's like, I didn't think about it like that, and it's like, rarely many do, and so it's like, But of course, at the same time, they're more focused on getting out of there, but Omega, on the other hand, she's more focused on getting some loot, just like trying to get something. But of course, Romar is like, no, it's a waste of time, all that loot, it's like, oh, where they got that loot? Dooku, of course, because so many planets he had in the Separatists during the war, all those maybe just like spoils of war. I mean, just like all that blood money and all stuff like that. And like, it's funny, if you've seen Tales of the Jedi, Dooku at one point would have saw that as kind of being a hypocrite. He's just like, he wanted peace for the galaxy, and he felt like the way to do it was to kind of declare war against the Republic with the Separatists, because he felt like there was injustice all across the galaxy. But now you have him here, you learn, no, he actually took this loot. Sure, there may have been there was maybe good reasons why for some, maybe for like war effort, but at the same time, it's like, you got all that loot from all these worlds, man. What the freaking heck? Did you like pillage it? It's like, what the and so, that whole can of worms, just, I don't know. But yeah, no, so the main focus here, it's just basically saying, talking about like, what's more important here? Is it the loot, or is it survival and, helping others? Because that's exactly what happens here. Like, Romar, he has, he's letting him stay there for a bit. He talks to Omega about, like, kind of more what value isn't always with the treasure, it's like, or like with the actual like loot, it's like he literally gives her a kaleidoscope, and it's just like, she's like, what is this? It's just like, is this gold? Is there like crystals in there? And he's like, no, it's a toy. You have fun with it. It's like, that's a more valuable treasure than anything else. And so, of course, for Omega in that moment, she doesn't really, I mean, she kind of is interested in it, but then, of course, you hear Echo and Tech arguing about the loot, what they can be doing with the loot. It's like, we shouldn't be hoarding it for ourselves. I'm like, like Dooku did. We gotta maybe take this loot and maybe give it to someone. But of course, Romar's like, no, I don't want any of it. He's like, the only thing I want is, he has like this, he has this data bank that has the archives of Sereno's history, but unfortunately he can't, it's kind of broken, so Tech fixes it for him, and it's just like, all of a sudden, it's like, that's a huge thing, because it's like, again, it's an archive of Sereno's history. That is literally a world's history there, and it's so crazy how sometimes history can be gone like that. Like, it's like you have a book on like on a civilization's history, and then someone burns it, and that's like the only thing left. That is insanity, because for all we know, that databank could be the only one left on Sereno, and it's like, jeez. But yeah, no, the fact that Tech fixes it for Romar is it's a nice moment. It's a nice gesture. It shows that they can actually do good for others instead of just like pulling jobs and getting money out of it. And that's kind of what Echo hopes. But of course, again, Omega kind of overhears this conversation that's going on about getting the loot and what they can be using it for. And going back to what happened in the first episode, she kind of feels like that she's a burden, and so she decides to go and try and get some of the loot herself. And unfortunately, that doesn't go well. I mean, she could get it, but it's kind of like, I just love when I saw a bunch of people talking about it. It's just like, oh my god, it's like Last Crusade, she's trying to, or like any movie where it's like, you gotta let it go, man, you can't, no, I have to, please, let it go. And it's just like, yeah, no, Omega, she's trying to get some loot, but Echo's like, no, you gotta let it go. And of course, Omega then confronts him about what he said, it's like, you're here because of me. And then of course, Echo's like, it doesn't matter. Echo's like, yeah, but it's like, of course, and eventually Echo does say, it's like, we would have done that choice all over again because of what, it's like, because we would have been a part of the Empire. We wouldn't have you, all those things. So, it's, again, I kind of saw it coming because it's like, well, the loot's not more important than your lives and helping this guy. So it kind of makes sense that that's eventually what happens, and then eventually, you got the group get back together, like Hunter and Wrecker come in. There's a Republic fighter that comes in to try, or Republic fighter, or Republic gunship, I guess now we could say Imperial gunship, comes in, is about to take him out, but then Hunter and Wrecker take out the ship, pick him up. Omega gets the kaleidoscope from Romar, who then stays behind and says, I'm survivor, I know, I'll be fine, he leaves. I wonder if we'll see him again. Probably won't, but, who knows. But yeah, the group takes off, and like I said, Echo talks to Omega about, the fact that they risked their lives for her, but they're like, yeah, but we would have done it all over again because we made the right choice. And it's like, nice little reassurance for Omega there, just being like, she kind of has that sense of like, yeah, maybe it was the right choice, but at the same time, I get what she's coming. You can kind of see where she's coming from. She's like, she is told, she's overhears that these men risked their lives for her, and what has she done for them? It's like, yeah, but that's not the big thing of this episode. I mean, it's not one of the big things. Or no, wait. It is a big thing, but it's not, but it's like one of many big things. Like that's the best way to say it, because after all of this is done, Wilco, he's not happy with how things turned out, and so he eventually is just like, he has the report, but then Rampart shows up, and he's like, your report was mainly good, although you made a mistake. You said Clone Force 99 was here, and Wilco's like, yeah, they were. And Rampart's like, no, they died on Kamino. And he's like, if Admiral Tarkin hears about this, I will be, he's like, I will be screwed, basically. So he's like, he tells Wilco to change the report, but Wilco refuses because, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do the right thing. But of course, Rampart just, I mean, a part of me didn't want to see it, but just, they were standing next to a giant cliff, basically. And I'm thinking, is he going to shove him? And I'm like, nah, that's probably going to be that's going to bring attention if you hear him scream, if you hear Wilco scream. So then Rampart, just pulls out a blaster, blasts him, Wilco falls over the cliff. Man. It's messed up. But of course, now the problem is Rampart has the suspicion that Clone Force 99 is still out there. But of course, now he has that situation of like, well, I can't let Tarkin know. I gotta keep this secret. So it's kind of like gonna be like this side project, this kind of like special ops kind of thing, where it's like, you got this, maybe Crosshairs comes back into the mix, and it's like, you gotta hunt, they're still alive, you gotta hunt them down again. And it's like, okay. But yeah, so yeah, in terms of these first two episodes, I mean, I enjoyed them. I guess then, the animation's great. The story so far is just, it's slowly building. It's not like insanely going up. It's like kind of just setting things up as to what the season's gonna be. That being like, parts of the Empire know that Clone Force 99 is still about, and Clone Force 99 is slowly growing in terms of like their strength and their skill, and kind of learning how to be not just this group of bounty hunters, but like maybe these groups of actual heroes. Maybe. Who knows? But let's see. Anything else? I mean, yeah, we got Wrecker with his RPG. That's gonna be that'll probably come in handy. That's yeah, no, that's about it. That's pretty much about it. At least from what I got. Again, saw these episodes back to back, so there was a lot to take in, and just wanted to give my thoughts on it. So hopefully that's pretty good in terms of my thoughts, but alright. Yeah, that's about it. So let's wrap this up. So thank you all for watching. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.